Welcome to Proudly Said, bold voices and real stories. I'm John Hyland, Scouse, queer, and still trying to make sense of it all. This space is for the stuff we don't always say out loud, but probably should. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
I'm loving this space. It's really quaint. I'm looking at loads of rainbow flags. I've
Yes.
seen lots of we are an ally or I am an ally stickers, Sophie Green stickers. We are in the pole loft. I'm with one of the instructors, Toni. Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm very excited to be here.
You've got a long list of credentials that you were telling me just off camera, and I'm like, you can do that bit. So you are a pole instructor here at the pole loft,
Yep.
but that's just one side of you, as Susan Boyle once said.
Yes, indeed. Yes. So yeah, I'm a pole instructor here. I've been teaching here for about coming up to a year and a half now. I got a cute little anniversary present from all the students and from the studio owner, which was very cute. It was like pictures and like signed
that's cute.
frame, adorable. But I teach pole and I teach dance. So it's kind of like chair dance and floor work and kind of like, we call it tease and dance because it's based on like burlesque roots.
It sounds like very burlesque-esque.
Yeah. So I used to be a burlesque dancer in China, which was
Wow.
one of my little like sub quests.
like
But so it kind of comes from the roots of burlesque, and it started out as a burlesque class, and then I also have a lot of other dance background, and we found that it was kind of melding into something else. So we ended up changing the name to Tease and Dance, and then allowing it to just grow in the way that it was. So now it's a lot more just like sensuality, sexuality, lots of tease from the burlesque style, but a lot more like jazz, contemporary, commercial style dance. So that's not even, that's a very long intro. I'm a dance instructor and
really interesting,
a pole
though.
instructor. Yeah. Yeah. And that's me.
That accent's not from here. Whereabout are you from the lovely
No.
Emerald Isle?
I'm from in the north. I'm from Portrush, which is this like small little seaside town.
Yeah.
And lived there most of my life, and then went off to uni in America, which is why my accent is a bit weird. But then when I came back to Liverpool, I feel like it got stronger.
We're not even 5 minutes in, and we've mentioned Liverpool, Northern Ireland, or the north of Ireland. I got onto that as soon as you said it. China and America.
Yeah, I've
We're not even 5 minutes in, babe.
I know it's a lot. I'm very much one of those ones who can't keep still and want to just, you know, be speckled everywhere. I've lived in loads of other places, and when we get into it, you'll probably hear a bit more. I always try and like I want to tell things, because, you know, if I talk about my burlesque roots, for example, I have to mention China because that's where it was. But then I also don't want to come across as a prick. He's like, yeah, my got ya.
China.
So I keep it quite low key, but then it does come up sometimes, and my friends are always just like, you have these random little things that you just pop into conversations of, like, you know, times where I lived abroad and did different things. But
It would be like that humbleness, though. It's just,
yeah.
oh yeah, when this happened, and everyone's like, what?
I feel like you need to be, otherwise you sound like absolutely awful. So I try and be very low key about it as much as I can.
So what did you go to study in America?
So I studied social science, and that was my degree. Why so funny?
I just love that. I went to America, did social science, came back, got into burlesque and dance.
Yeah. Well, okay, if we're really getting into it, the story is quite interesting. So basically, I'm from Northern Ireland, or the North, which we love, but I call it Northern Ireland because that's what everyone does. And I went off to uni when I was 18, went to San Francisco, this weird university that I found on Facebook, and I genuinely thought it was a cult. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
It was like 7 cities, no application fee. And I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. It's definitely a scam. Applied anyway.
I'll do it anyway.
Applied anyway because I was just like, whatever, I'm bored. I had like 20 minutes before tea time, and did this application for university. And then a couple of months later, I get this email, and it's like, you got in. And I was like, well, obviously, because it doesn't exist. But turns
How
out
much you want from me?
I know. Turns out it was a real university, and I went there. I visited, saw the whole thing, got in, and got a scholarship. So I went there, and it was super cool. It was, the first year was in San Francisco, and then every 4 months for the next 4 years, we lived all over the world and like moved around, which was, oh god, it was
This is part of the
phenomenal.
course.
Yeah, it
I
was
suppose
really
the principle
cool.
of that was just understand how certain things work in different parts.
Yeah, it was like
Interesting.
global immersion, and it was very like American, like, oh my God, we're studying in the world, like that
Yeah.
vibe. But at the same time, it was the most incredible experience, and I was able to learn a lot and see different cultures and live in all these different places. And you really got to know the different cities as well, because you were
Yes.
there for longer than a weekend. But that's part of the reason that I've lived and worked in those different places, because I was there anyway. So then I ended up doing burlesque and dance and teaching,
Yes.
and
Okay, now
it
you've
makes more
explained
sense. You
why
know what I
in those
mean?
places it doesn't actually sound as grand.
I know. Actually, it's not that impressive.
I mean,
So
it is, but not like, oh yeah, I lived in China and I lived in America. It's like, no, I went to these places because I had to.
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, the China one was an internship that I got in social media, actually.
Oh, wow.
When I was 18, I went over just for a summer, and then it was, oh God, it was this little startup, and then the startup completely crashed a month into me being there. And then I find myself in China, in Shanghai, not really speaking the language, and I really mean not really speaking the language, not having any income, not knowing anyone. I had like one friend and that was it. And I was like, what do I do? And I could have just come home, but then I was like, no, I want to make this work. I was here for a reason. I was only a month in. So I used to sing, and I have like a dance background. So I went to all these different jazz bars in Shanghai, and I was just like, hey, I'm a jazz singer. Like, do you want to hire me? And got so much rejection. And then eventually someone was like,
Okay.
you've got a good voice, but we have this like burlesque troupe that actually are looking someone. And I was just like, phenomenal. I will do that. And that's how I got into it all.
Oh.
So it was very much like a circumstantial thing, but I had done like jazz and burlesque and stuff beforehand, but only like trained it. I'd never done it professionally. But that's how I kind of weaseled my way in, and ended up completely falling in love with it. So
That's mad.
yeah, it was a crazy story in the way that it happened, but I'm so glad it did. And then I found Paul a couple of years later, and they, intersected quite well. Now I'm here.
Wow. Just again, I've got a bit more of an insight having lived over there for a wee bit. But do you find that the reason, like, yeah, you just kind of ran with the whole let's go move across the world is because of it's Northern Ireland and there's a massive brain drain of young people
Yeah.
wanting to get out of there. So you're like, sod it, let's just go.
100%. I was, I remember applying for different universities, and they were like, oh, you could go to England, you could go to Queen's and Belfast. And I was like, I don't want to go to either of those places. I did end up going to Queen's for my master's, but that's like not what, at the time, I just really wanted to get as far away as possible and just see the world and just do something different. And it was very much like a pipe dream that no one took seriously, including myself. I was just like, I'm just going to apply for these universities, see what happens. But then it did happen. So it's one of those things where it's like, again, closed mouths don't get fed. Like, you have to just go for it and see what happens, because you never know. Like, it could work out,
It's
So.
just a bit like, as I say, we're only not even 10 minutes in. You're not even 30 yet.
Yeah.
And you've lived a life.
Yeah, I mean, we might only get one, so might as
True.
well make it worth it. That's kind of my
Very true.
ambition, is to just try and take as much out of life as possible. Yeah.
So did you not have, so just on the point about China, and you you walked in and goes, hire me to do this. And like, no, do that. Had you had any prior experience in that kind of
Yeah.
world before that?
Yeah, so I did like competitive dance when I was younger, like the typical like teenage.
Yeah.
I started when I was like 12, 13-ish, and I started within musical theater because I loved performing. It was my favorite thing in the world. And that kind of worked alongside being in this like dance troupe, and I did a couple of different dance things, and it was very much like a mixture of contemporary, jazz, commercial, musical theatre, and street dance as well, which I thought was so cool back at 18 when we snapped back in Jersey. I really was not looking back, and my girlfriend is always like, she'll bring up the photo and be like, remember this time? And I'm like, wow, thank you.
I do.
I do.
Thanks.
Actually. I'm proud of it, actually.
Yeah, it's a chapter in my story. Leave me
Yeah,
alone.
exactly. But so that kind of trained me up in the dance skills I needed. And
Right.
because I was performing in loads of like musicals with musical theatre, I had like a singing background. So I was able to take those skills and then use it as a bit of a fallback when, shit hit the fan in terms of my internship. So then I was able to be like, okay, I need an income. What can I do? I can sing and dance. Let's see where it will take me and see if I can craft something out of that. And it worked. So I was able to do that for a while, and it was really fun. So that was cool.
So how long was you in China for?
I was only there for 4 months, so it was
So it's
very
part of
much
that
like,
rotation.
yeah. Well, no, it was I got the internship and then ended up going. It wasn't part of the like official rotation.
Right, I get you.
But because I was supposed to go to Korea next as part of the rotation,
wow.
so I thought, oh, it's close enough, physically close. So I did kind of burlesque and singing when I was there, and then I ended up teaching it at my university for that next year and performing in different places all over Korea and India as well.
So no, like, I'm kind of sidestepping a little bit. That wasn't the point, just for you to like not acknowledge. It's still relevant. To people listening, there's a little thumbs up to just say, okay, on to.
I'm just encouraging you. I hear for you, support you.
What was it like? I'm assuming you were like openly. Were you out as a queer person at that age?
So I wasn't, and only because I didn't know at the time. So
I say like China, okay.
Yeah, I mean Northern Ireland isn't much better. But
True.
it was one of those things. So first of all, I haven't even introduced myself. I'm a proud lesbian. Hello, everyone.
You have mentioned your girlfriend a few times. So I think
people crack on. They're like, okay, there's something fruity here, but we don't know the flavor. However, no. So basically, coming from Northern Ireland, I didn't really have any inkling whatsoever. Yeah. It's really funny as well. Now that I'm out and proud, I look back at my like childhood and teenage years, and there's so many moments that have now come to fruition that I'm like, that was so gay. Okay. Or you're like, why did I have this really intense like draw towards this one girl as like as a young child and stuff like that, where you're just like, oh, okay, that was like the queerness seeping through, but you don't realize it at the time. And I think as well, you know, anytime I had kind of mentioned anything sort of along the lines of queerness, it was like very quickly shut down. My family religious, they're not like oppressive religious, but that was kind of the background I came from, and like going to mass and all that growing up, Irish Catholic, very much like that vibe.
That's the thing.
Yeah. So even though they are quite open and they're super accepting and always have been, it was something I was still very fearful of once I realized I was queer, but I didn't realize I was queer until I was about 21. That's when I kind of was my awakening, as you say. And once I realized I was queer, I was like out the next week. It was very much like, oh my God. So I talk about this with my partner, and she's always just like, yeah, I was in the closet for like a year and a half, and I was just like, I was there for like a week, because for me it was such a genuine did not know. And it's really funny because my I remember this one story of coming out to my sister, and I was younger sister, so I'm the oldest. Younger sister, and I was like, I think I'm gay, I think I'm a lesbian, like I like women. And she was like, no shit, Sherlock. And I was like, what? And she was like, Antonia, and she like pointed to a picture on, I had like a little like collage wall, and I had this little sticker from the Vagina Museum that was a literal vulva shaped as a rose, and she was like, you have vaginas on your wall and you're just realizing that you're gay now. And I was just like, I just thought they were pretty.
Exactly.
Like, why do you think that they're pretty? So yeah, so it was the closet was glass, but I couldn't see out of it. Basically was the whole vibe. So coming back to like when I lived in more conservative places, I had a bit of a privilege in terms of not realizing I was queer. So that wasn't a dynamic I had to deal with. I didn't realize I was queer until my very like senior year, and by that point the rotation was London and Taiwan, which are both very, very friendly for queer people. So so then I was fine in terms of not having to navigate that. It's something
in your life.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just vibing, just like stripping, doing the vibes. But it was something that I didn't have to navigate at the time. Whereas now when I go just even on holiday with my partner, it's something that's, you know, completely top of mind. But yeah, it's ignorance is bliss, apparently.
I was curious because it's interesting that over the last few weeks and months, I just feel like I've just been bombarded in a good way with the burlesque world. And it's very queer.
It is.
So I was curious, and kind of now pointless question, but it's like, it might still work. Was that where it's like, okay, I can be comfortable in this world because it is so queer, but it's an accepted form of art?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think pole as well, burlesque and pole, there's a lot of intersectionality there. But when I first kind of discovered pole dance, my friend took me to a pole studio because, you know, she didn't want to go alone, and I was like, okay, I'll come with you.
Yeah, because it seems like quite a daunting place to go on your own.
Especially because it's one of those things, unfortunately, it still has a taboo. Not as much now, but definitely when I started, which is about 6, almost 7 years ago now, big taboo.
Yeah.
So I went in and my friend never went back, but it became my entire personality.
Love that.
Completely. But it was one of those things that I felt really safe. One, because I had a dance background, so I had a bit of an idea of how it worked and how it
I
like
don't know where my brain
flowed.
went there. It's like, I had the dance background, so I had rhythm.
Yeah, I
That's where my
mean,
brain went.
yes. You don't necessarily need rhythm for pole though. Sometimes
No.
not
I mean, some
necessarily.
movements I've seen, yeah, you look at it.
100%, 100%. It depends on like the style you're doing.
Yes.
You know, if you're doing like a choreo routine, 100% you need it. But I like to stick to more like tricks.
Cool.
So you don't need rhythm for tricks if you're just doing that.
Just the
But
physicality.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was more of just like the community aspect of pole is very similar to the dance background. So I was able to kind of feel at home there because
Yeah.
it was something that felt nostalgic to me. But then as I went through it, and especially coming to Liverpool, because I trained pole in other places as well, but Liverpool has been the one place where it's been like queerness and pole is a huge
Yeah.
intersectionality there, especially at the studio as well. I always find that like I come and I meet other queer people, and that makes me so happy because I've been able to almost like enhance my community through something I'm already
Yes.
doing, but also because there's so much intersectionality there, I'll like meet other queer people and then we'll go to events together. And like, it's really nice for like expanding that circle. Like, I know you've had Raf and Shiv on, and they're both
Yes.
my students, you're now both my friends. So,
Okay.
having that kind of intersectionality of meeting people and being like, oh my gosh, you're queer too. Let's go off and let's go to this
Let's
event
do
together.
something.
And it's really lovely. And I think part of that comes from pole being such an inclusive place where people were shunned and there was a lot of taboo there for stripping and for pole dancing and in general, and obviously queer people can relate to that, and there is this kind of safe space in terms of people who want to do like a creative art and a sport, and whichever way you view pole have already kind of had to overcome that.
Yeah.
So queer people like understand that and don't have to I almost had to like come out as a pole dancer in the same way I had to come out as gay, which was
Because there's
ridiculous.
an automated like assumption of what that
Because
means and what
exactly.
it is.
And
Yeah.
even if there is like, very, very sex worker proud, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things that unfortunately there's still a taboo in society. And I
Yes.
am glad to see that it's been dissolving over the last few years, but unfortunately it still exists. But I do think in my experience anyway, over the last few years doing pole, it's been really interesting to see how much intersectionality there is with the queer community. And that makes me feel like even more proud to be both queer and both a pole dancer and like see all of that combined. And it also makes me really happy as an instructor to bring other queer people
Yeah.
in, people in general. I won't discriminate if you're not queer, but
But it is a
people in
very
general,
queer,
you know what I mean?
queer like
It really
space.
is. Yeah. And just to make people have that safe space. And that's another reason I love this studio in particular as well, because that safe space, as you can see, like there's pride flags all over the
Yeah.
walls. There's like, and I think it's really important to just show that safe space in general.
And it's wider than just being like a safe queer space. Like I'm even looking at some of the photos. Sorry, people who are listening. I'm currently looking around the
Yeah,
room. There's a pride in what you do.
100%. Yeah.
Like not necessarily being a pride in like you can come and be yourself, but it's like yeah, you can. You can be yourself in any way, shape, or form.
100%, 100%. And it's one of those things that
There's a light bulb moment there. Did you
it's
see it?
so funny because I've accidentally thought people were queer just because they have a pride in pole. I'm just like, wow, you're just so full of pride. Are you a queer person? They're like, no. And I'm like, oh,
I just
okay,
like what I
cool.
do.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's such a intersectional like space because of that. And I think because both like pole dancers, sex workers, queer people have all had to kind of overcome this taboo.
Yeah.
There is that crossover within the community, and you'll go to queer spaces now and like queer events, and you'll see like pole dancers as well. And it just makes me really happy to like have that intersectionality in general.
It's interesting because I think again going on stereotypes,
Mm-hmm.
people assume pole dancing very much around femme
Mm-hmm.
women, but I don't know if it's because I am in the queer community, so I'm seeing it. Because I was about to say like I feel like I'm seeing a lot of pole, but then I think you just explained why it's very queer friendly.
Yeah.
But on that like stereotypical of like I want to say femme, but there's a guy now. He's originally from Liverpool. He lives in Belfast. His stage name is Freddie Mercury.
Love.
And I remember when he was first changing that, and he sent it to me, and I was like, so this is when I was living over there, and I was like, I see where you're going with it, and I'm interested. I think I kind of pushed against the name. Well, I've already I'm using it, so whatever. But like he set up his own pole dance studio in Belfast,
Yeah.
and it's I just find that so cool because like I've watched some of his stuff, and it's like it's hot. The only way to describe it is hot.
Yeah.
But from that side of it, are you finding it's getting more engaged with mask
Yeah,
presenting?
100%, 100%. And yeah, and I know him as well. I trained under him as well before I was an
Oh,
instructor. He taught me, my very first heels class was his, and phenomenal. He's so great. He really is. So it's a very small community. Like we
Yeah.
all know each other, which is great.
I mean, it helps that he's a Scouser living in Belfast,
That too.
and you're from the north, and you're now in
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Well, yeah, because I did my master's in Belfast, so I was doing pole then, and that's when I went to his
Great.
classes. Yeah, so it's very funny, very intersectional. But to answer your question, I think that it definitely is getting a lot more inclusive, which is great because it's also one of those things that if you look back years ago, there was times where like sex workers wouldn't be allowed into pole studios, which is ridiculous because
Really?
that
I'm going, yeah, like I knew that. Like, wow.
because that's where pole comes from. It comes from stripping, you know. So like I think it's really important to be a safe space for queer people and for, you know, for any gender, any shape, any size, you know, any of that, but also incredibly, and I really mean so incredibly important, to be open for sex workers because that is again where, you know, the sport, the art has come from. So I think it's about trying to be as open as possible, and unfortunately not all studios are like that, you know, especially in like other parts of this country or other parts of other countries. I used to train in a studio in Berlin that was like, if you weren't like a stick thin, like pretty woman under a certain age, like don't even bother showing up. And it
Yeah.
was just, it felt really like, yeah, exactly. So I love being able to train here and to also just Liverpool in general. I think it's such a fantastic place. There's so many studios here that are so inclusive and open and, you know, sex worker positive, queer friendly. A big shout out to Rude as well. They're phenomenal. Love, love, love. So Rude and Pole are two of my absolute favorites because of that, because they have never shied away from being inclusive, no matter who you are, no matter what size you are, no matter what gender you are, no matter your sexuality. And then that makes me really, really like proud, you know what I mean? Because that's how it should be at the end of the day. Yeah.
And it's interesting that people kind of associate it simply with that, like it's just about sex, when it's really physically demanding.
100%. Oh my God, it's so freaking hard. It's really interesting because I think that pole in general, there's so many different styles and there's so many different niches to it that anyone who trains can kind of take what they want from it, you know, and that's what I love about this sport. And it is a sport at the end of the day. It's also an art. It's also, you know, a piece of creative form. But it's a sport in terms of like you have to be quite physically fit, and you don't have to be when you start. You can train and you can get up in the same way that you don't go to the gym and immediately be like, I'm going to lift this really heavy thing. It takes time. So, you know, if you want to train, come join me. I'll help you, because I think a lot of people get really scared of joining pole dance because they think, oh God, I don't have the strength for that. But it's like, you don't have the strength to like lift an insane amount of, you know, stuff at the gym if you just show up on day one. Like it's about training, it's about doing that. But yeah, in general, I think it's really, it's a difficult sport, but it's so rewarding. And that's why I've stuck with this so long, because when you are training and training and training and eventually you get a move and the only thing that's changed is you got stronger and you dedicated yourself to something and you did it, the amount of like joy you have is phenomenal. And as an instructor now, being able to see that in my students and know that like I somewhat helped with that progress, it just makes me so happy, and I live like vicariously through them. And I love being able to like have the community, like if someone gets a move here, everyone in the class will look around and scream
like
and
for the first
clap.
time.
Yeah. And it's just one of those moments that like, you know, having that pride within yourself, but also just being celebrated by everyone else in the class. It's such a beautiful thing. And it's something that I'm so glad that the pole community exists, because it's, you know, it's something you don't find everywhere, you know? So
yeah, and I think as I say, it's interesting. And again, I don't know if it is because I'm just part of the community that I am seeing it everywhere, or it is a genuine reflection of the fact that it, as you say, it is being more accepted and people are getting more involved into it, because you know what, being sexy is cool.
Yeah,
being sexy is like just, and in yourself, and like the fact that there are so many different body types getting involved in it and stuff like that. Because like, as you say, predominantly it's like if you're not like skinny mini, size 0 type vibe, then don't bother about it. It's like, no, actually everyone
100%
can feel themselves, and whilst it's not predominantly about being sexy,
but everybody can be sexy, you know? And I love that as well. And I think especially like within my like tease and dance classes, that's what I want to focus on, is like, it doesn't matter what way you move, what way you look like, as long as you feel good and you can embody that, because that is the sexiest thing ever. If you feel yourself and you're just like, I look amazing, I can guarantee you do look amazing, you know? So it's one of those things that it makes me so happy. And I've definitely had those moments myself of like not feeling super body confident, but then being able to like come in and train and just like let the creative process take over has always made me feel so much better about myself and about my body. And like and then being surrounded by other people who are all different shapes and sizes that are just like absolutely there to support you, just yeah, it's a good
It's why
place.
it's interesting just to like again burlesque and stuff, because I feel like I've seen quite a lot. I spoke to Alabama Worley from Glorified Cabaret, who's obviously
Yeah,
about celebrating
100%.
plus size people. I recently went to see Dita Von Teese in Manchester. That was a
Amazing.
last minute thing. I was like, oh my god, I'm going to be speaking to Millie Dollar soon. So it's
Nice.
like full blown burlesque cabaret
Yeah.
is everywhere, and I live here for it.
Yeah.
So is this like your like full time thing?
No, I wish. I wish.
But it does seem it.
I mean, yeah,
It's my passion.
it is very much my passion. No, my day job, I'm a human rights and ethical trade manager. Just so rogue.
That is a drama.
It's very different.
That's a Netflix series.
I know.
Human rights by day, pull by night.
Pull by night. Yeah, I mean that's me. But no, I wish this was my full time. But at the same time, I do and I don't. I do in terms of like this is definitely my passion. I love it so much.
Also an escape.
Yeah, it is an escape. But at the same time, I've noticed that I don't want to like lean on it and rely on it to the point where it's like my only income, because I don't want it to then take my joy away. And at the same time, especially with pole, it's such a physical and demanding thing that I don't know if like my body would be able to cope doing it full time.
So at the end of the day, you're an athlete, and it's,
100%.
if you hurt yourself, you're
100%. And then that's your income gone. And that's also something to like be really cognizant for people who are full-time pole instructors, full-time strippers, like anyone who's doing that. Like it's really important to be like, that's hard. You know what I mean? Like fair play to anyone who is. I don't know if I could. There's points where I'm just like, I would absolutely love to.
Yeah.
For me, absolute favorite. But then at the same time, I notice I have a lot of privilege to say that like maybe I will, maybe I won't, and having that choice is a huge privilege as well. At the same time, I really love my day job as well. It's difficult, and there's that.
This is where the social sciences came into play.
Yeah, exactly.
The full circle moment.
There we are. I love human rights as well. So for me, it's like they're equal passions. It would be hard to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
I love being able to, this is so tangential to what I do, to pole, but basically my job is just like helping like workers in factories and making sure that like they can like complain and they've got like proper channels to do so, like supporting trade unions, making sure people get paid on time, making sure there's no human trafficking, like all of that is also so important to me, you know. So like that
makes sense now why you had this global trip.
yes
Because you can then see all the different ways of how things work, and like that's not going to happen here.
Exactly. So you know, if you're living in a bubble, you're not going to be able to understand where people are coming from. So I really love that as well. So as much as I love pole and dancing, I also pole dance but you know what I mean, like also dance as well. I really love my day job, so I'd struggle to pick one or the other. So you know, I'm really blessed and privileged that I can do both. You know, it's great.
You're living the queer dream.
Yeah.
Get fighting the rights, getting those helping those little people.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then telling them to take their clothes off and dance with me.
Wasn't how I was going to put it, but you know, I was going to, you feel yourself, you take your clothes off.
Exactly. No. My thick accent.
Yeah,
no. It's very funny though. I think it's funny in terms of like bringing queerness into it as well. Like my partner's so supportive, and she comes to all my events as well. Anytime I do that, she still refuses to come to one of my actual classes. We've been together for almost 3 years now, and I'm like, are you ever going to come to one of my classes? And she was like, no, not for me. She's more into like kickboxing and that kind of thing, so she has the strength for it, but she's just like, no.
You are like the opportune lesbian couple.
I know. We'd be ready if anyone comes at us. We're ready to go. We'll take you.
So I'm curious, is there do you do like showcases and stuff like that? Like people who like are learning can then perform in a way kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. So we did our last one was our Christmas showcase, and I love them, and I think that's definitely a really nice way to like ease yourself into performing as well, because we make sure it's only other students who are in the audience, so it's people that you've either trained with or who understand and understand the sport and the art. And it's that safe space again, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those places where you can just do whatever type of dance you want to do, because a lot of the time there's different styles as well. There's lots of different niches to it, so it really gives students that like safe opportunity to practice and to try different things as well. Sometimes you might be like, oh, I want to try this, and then I want to try that, and it gives you that like ability to give it a go, you know, and have your own kind of creative flair, because I think all of our students who do performances would create it themselves, so you have the opportunity to be creative and see like where it comes from.
I like that, because it's like kind of like inspiring people people to like, you know what, because I think some people who don't understand, particularly pole, be like, how do I make a routine around that?
Yeah, exactly.
Explore.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where it doesn't have to look a certain way or fit a certain way. And you don't have to be like these phenomenal people who are competing all the time. Who, again, they are phenomenal for a reason. But it's one of those things, I think it's really important to take the pressure off, because you're already doing something really, really difficult. And I say this to my beginners all the time. So I teach like beginners and improvers. And I love that, because people come in and they think that, you know, oh my gosh, this is really hard. And I'm like, yeah, it is really hard. But at the same time, you being able to do this beginner level move, that in itself is a huge achievement, because it's a hard thing to do. So don't compare yourself to other people who've maybe been training longer, or maybe have different body types, or have different backgrounds, different mobilities. There's so many different things that come into it. Sometimes like there'll be certain weeks, like if I'm on my period, I'm going to be shite, absolutely shite at doing certain moves, you know what I mean? But I think it's really important to be able to navigate that and say, look, hey, just don't put pressure on yourself. You're already doing something that's really difficult. And if you're showing up today, that is enough. You know what I mean? So being able to like have that faith in yourself and know that, like, you know, performing or just training or doing whatever you want, like in itself, it's a hard thing to do, especially even if it's just other students that you're performing in front of. That's still nerve-wracking, you know what I mean?
Of course it is.
But being able to like overcome that fear, like I think anyone who does that should be super proud of themselves, because it's a lot. So fair play to anyone who
I was literally
who
about to say, as we come like to the end, like, is like, if you've got any wise words for people who want to get into this, what would you say? I think you just said it, but if I put you on the spot, it's when people, someone who's thinking, you know what, I'm seeing it, as I've said, I feel like I'm seeing it everywhere, and like, I'm fucking terrified, but like,
you should come.
Fuck right off.
This is my real agenda.
Get John involved.
I guess wise words. Honestly, try it. Give it a go. You know what I mean? If it's for you, awesome. If it's not, that's okay. You had a laugh. And I think it's one of those things that, like, it comes back to this the story of when I was 18 and you know, flying off. Just give it a go, because you never know what could happen. Like I always say to exactly. I always say this to my beginners. I was like, the biggest thing that could go wrong is this will become your entire personality, which is what happened for me.
I didn't want to say it.
You know, it does. But that's what I mean. It's just like, give it a go. It's something that's supposed to be fun at the end of the day. Like, come have a good time, have some training, meet a great community. And yeah, this is me. I will plug pole dance every time, because I just think it's brought me so much in my life, and it's been so restorative in that way that I'm like, I hope that other people, especially other queer people like me, can give it a go and maybe find community that way as well.
And I love that, just like rounding it all up. It's like, it's not just about performance, it's about community. 100%. It's about finding other people. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And you know what? Now it makes sense. This is why I'm seeing it, because the community's getting it's behind it.
Yeah. And that's why you see all that intersectionality as well. You're like, right, okay, it makes sense now.
Now it's explained to me.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
So for yourself, where can people find you online? If it's like, I'm assuming you just teach here, teach elsewhere. Where can people find you, both online and where you're teaching that?
Yeah, so I'm teaching just here at the moment with the Pole Loft. I teach here on Monday nights and on Friday afternoons, hence why we're here on a Friday. And Friday nights as well, actually. I've got a bit of a workshop on tonight, which is very exciting. It's a tease and dance, like, I'm teaching a routine and then we're filming it after. It's actually Raf who's filming it, which is great. She does everything. We love her. So that's going to be really fun. So we do like lots of different workshops and lots of different things. But so physically you can find me here. I will be here
on this sofa.
Always on the sofa. Online, you can find me. My stage name is Hennessy, which very briefly, very briefly, it comes from the fact that I had started this pole account when I just started pole, and I wanted, again, it came from this kind of feeling a bit repressed, and at the time wanting to keep it a secret, only because I was not really sure of like how to explain it to family and all that jazz, which I don't like that now, but it's one of those things that at the time, this was like almost 7 years ago, you know, and I'm very, I'm proud as both a lesbian and a pole dancer now. But at the time I was like, oh, I want to have a different Instagram account and just to kind of have that safe space where I could share the stuff I was doing and learning and be creative. So I was like, okay, I need a name. And I was like, I'll do Hennessy because it's like this, obviously the Irish connection to it. But I looked it up and it meant, I can't remember what it was at the time, but it was like strength or courage or something along
Okay.
those lines. And I was just like, oh, I like that. I like that. I like that little intersectionality. Also, when I was in China, I did not pick this name, but they called me Lady Shamrock because
Lady
of my Irish accent. And I was like, right. So I was like, it's kind of an ode
sounds
to
like a
that as
stripper.
well. Kind of an ode to that as well. They called me that, and I was like, right, okay, we'll go. I wasn't going to do that again because I
Yeah.
was like, this is not my
Lady
choice.
Shamrock.
Lady Shamrock. But that's what they called me back in my burlesque days.
Yes, what's the handle? Sorry.
Great question. Bit of a tangent. I think it's Hennessy underscore XXII because I made it when I was like 18. So
Broken Rainbows.
that's where you'll find me. But also, if you just search the Pole Loft Liverpool, you'll be able to see me tagged in that stuff. So
Fabulous.
you'll find me through that as well.
Yes, if you can't find Hennessy, find the pole loft.
And then you'll
her
find
through
me
that.
both physically and online. I will be here. But yes, that's me.
You know what? I could talk to you for hours. There's a lot. So maybe in 6 months' time, we'll get a part 2.
George, oh my God, a follow up, and I'll be like, right, so everything has changed.
Yes, I'm done. We've moved on.
We're in Australia now because that's where everyone is. No.
They really are. But no, thank you so much. Thank you for bringing me into the space. It's beautiful.
Thanks, I like it here.
I love the. Forgive me. How proud it is.
It is. It
The
is.
pride in this space and like the fact
We're proud to be prideful.
I like that. Let's just not be overly sinful.
Yeah.
Or we will.
Or we will, and we'll channel it and embrace it. Exactly.
So, is there anything coming up that's worth plugging?
Ooh, actually, there is. So I haven't performed like publicly in a while because I've just kind of been focusing on teaching. But my first public performance is coming up in it's on April 11th with Children of Medusa, which is a fundraiser for RASA as well. So that'll be really fun. So that all the details of that will be on my Instagram as well. So if anyone wants to see me in person,
So watch the Instagram.
the first time in a good few years. So that'll be really exciting because I kind of taken a pause from performing publicly, just because I wanted to focus on teaching and I was a bit burnt out. But I'm slowly coming back into it. So the first one, if anyone wants to come see me.
That's always a thing
where it
when
is.
students see their teachers perform. It's like a
Yeah.
So do it. Do it.
It'd be fun.
But
yeah.
no, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate
course,
it. Invite me
of
into the
course.
space.
Always welcome.
Crack on. You've been listening to Proudly Said. Now, if it meant something to you, why not pass it on? If it didn't, maybe it will one day. Either way, stay kind, stay loud, and stay proud.